Welcome to Fortnite Origins, where I'll be covering certain topics such as characters, factions, and realities. And one of the most notable factions I'll be covering are those from the Imagined Order, the Last Reality, and the Seven. When it comes to Fortnite Origins, I present obvious evidence to cover most of my claims, as well as something that is from the past, present, and future, and also from major chapters such as Chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and currently Chapter 7. So sit back, relax, and to all my loopers out here, let's learn some lore. Well guys, as the Foundation video has gotten successful because I have done the Foundation Fortnite Origins last month on February, I decided to make another one, but this time for this man's. This right here I have in my locker is the Ice King. If you don't know who he is, he was the one that appeared in Fortnite Season 7 back in 2018, and he's the one that can freeze everything, especially the entire island, the Chapter 1 island. But the biggest part about all this is nothing's known about the Ice King truly, but as of Fortnite Chapter 7 Season 2, as the Ice King has gotten a big upgrade because of the 0-point shard, he was able to use that advantage to freeze the Foundation. He has gotten a bit more brutal in some ways, but not as much. Unfortunately, because he is siding with the Dark Voyager, this war is gonna go on very crucial, as it is unclear. Despite that the Ice King has his own kingdom called the Ice Kingdom, it is unclear if he is part of the Last Reality, and this is where I'm gonna be explaining the origins of the Ice King. Where did he come from? Why does he want to freeze everything, especially for weapons and people, in the names of protecting the Omniverse? And how is him siding with the Dark Voyager going to impact the entire Fortnite storyline as a whole? Because there's a lot of crazy things I want to explain about the Ice King, especially for his upgraded form, especially for his Exalted, because look at this. It's like a combination of like the OG style, because like the crown and all, but not only that, it also combines with his original armor. I'm going to show you what the Ice King looked like before, and this right here is him now, which I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Look at this. And he's also seen the trailers, especially for Chapter 7 Season 2 Showdown, as this is the very first time we've seen his castle in extent, other than Polar Peak, where the Devourer is, and now we have another Devourer, but this time it's in a skeleton. But it's unclear if there's even more Devourer hidden underneath this ice, because he just got there. But yeah, guys, without further ado, let's get to this. In the beginning, the Ice King, also known as from like another name, he could be inspired by this one king of the giants, but it's still unconfirmed, which I'm gonna be pronouncing this name. His name is like Thrymer. I hope I'm not saying this wrong, guys. Because he is based off Norse mythology, it could be his name. Well, not really, but it could be, but let me know what his actual real name, guys, because there's a lot that we had to go through him, especially for Chapter 7 Season 2 and later seasons. But anyways, he originates from this reality where it's basically habitable and it's covered in ice. But this, guys, is not even the Ice Moon. This is the Ice King's actual reality. And if I want to compare this with this castle that we saw in the Ice Moon in the Marvel Comics, here it is. And what's crazy is that it's basically unknown if he actually created the Ice Kingdom, or probably his ancestors from beforehand actually created the Ice Kingdom, since they have been in power for thousands of years, even between from the formation of the Imagined Order to now. But it's very clear that the Ice King has led the Ice Kingdom for a very long time in his reality. And if you don't know what the Ice Kingdom looks like, guys, it's structured into knights. If you take a look at the Polar Peak Castle, which was in the Ice Moon, which I'm going to be going through later on, it consisted of these 5 symbols. This first chair is probably the Ice King, who probably used to be a knight himself before he actually became the king of the ice. And these 4 other symbols represent those 4 other knights. One of these symbols you saw here represents the prisoner, aka the Fire King, which long time ago, the Ice King and his 4 knights led the entire kingdom to collect items and people or other beings deemed very dangerous. But sometimes it brought instability across different realities, because some of these realities cannot survive with these weapons. And each and every time, the Ice King uses something known as an Ice Moon, which was orbiting his entire reality for a very long time. and uses that advantage to use it for his extra castle, which is this one right here, other than this castle, which we saw in this background right here, where this is the Ice King right now, and this is the castle where his kingdom first formed or something like that. And they collect things from different realities and keep them in frozen and ice. Mind you, to learn some specific chemistry, guys, ice is just water frozen, which freezes around 0 degrees Celsius, which is 32 degrees Fahrenheit. And at that point, the water will just slow down, and then it turns into ice, which is a solid form of water. And it melts even more than that in a single degree after the fact. Yeah, the Ice King can use multiple powers, especially for ice beams, which we saw from his gauntlets, which are located in his ends, and I'm going to show you right now because of the Ice King boss. And it's mysteriously thought that he can actually use corruption cubes, because the only time we saw him using the power of the cube was this one specific cube shard he manipulated back in Chapter 1 Season 7, where he froze the entire Athena Island to make sure that his former ally and knight, the prisoner, does not break out from his slumber. But it didn't go so well because the island was so hot and it was too late for the prisoner to be frozen, which he was able to break out free, and we had to go through this mess in the first place. But what happened before all of that? Well, I'm going to be explaining this right now, because the Ice Moon has been orbiting his reality for a very long time, because this is the moon where he operates in, and this is the reality where he operates in as well. But some unknown time where the Ice Moon landed in reality 0. Because at that time, it's unclear if he did abandon this reality because it's inhospitable or something like that. I'm not sure. Let me know how did this play out, guys. But what happened is that the Ice Moon decided to go to reality 0 for an unknown specific time, somewhere around before Chapter 1 when the Imagined Order first formed. At the exact same time, the Ice Moon was thought to have a safe place around reality 0 because the Ice King thinks that this is very safe. But what he doesn't realize is that he landed in a reality where the 0 point first created this reality, because reality 0 is the first ever reality created by the 0 point, and Ice King's reality was after the fact. And to give some biology about the Ice Moon, let me show you this right now, guys. Because the Ice Moon is a moon that is filled with a lot of ice. It has no atmosphere, it doesn't have an extra moon because it's basically the moon itself. And if you take a look over there, you can see this castle, which is very different from this castle we saw, which is known as Frigid Fortress. And as you can see, when Spider-Man and the others went inside the Ice Moon, you could see a bunch of creatures and weapons of mass destruction that are in ice pillars, almost similar to the ones that we saw inside Frigid Fortress. However, the castle where Polar Peak is does not have those, because it's just part of the much greater castle where he actually operates in. And there are times that the Ice King can actually go into hibernation, but there was this one specific time where before Chapter 1 Season 7, he had to freeze most things, because number one, he had to freeze those creatures known as Devours. And if you don't know what Devours are, guys, they are a species of those giant monsters with one eye. They're like Cyclops, but in like a different form. They're like another version of these monsters like Godzilla, but it's just one eye because he shoots like green beams. But they are an endangered species because, mind you, these monsters are not even neither of those realities right here, nor the Ice Moon itself. They originate from a completely different reality, which the Ice King deemed those as the most dangerous creatures of all reality. So, in some unknown time before Chapter 1 Season 7, he froze those Devours and placed them towards his Ice Moon, where he just drifts there. And at the exact same time, it's believed that there's some type of conflict between him and those knights, and that one of those is the prisoner, and the prisoner can manipulate something known as the power of fire. And the Ice King failed to realize that he hired a knight which can actually manipulate fire, which opposes ice, and it has the ability to melt ice. Because the Ice King realized that the prisoner, aka the Fire King, has the power of fire, he decided to oust him from power as a knight and freezes him eternally in the Polar Peak Castle, where you can see, I'm going to show you an image of what it looks like. Here it is. And it's also believed that the prisoner also possessed something known as these dragon eggs from a different species of dragon, which the Ice King also froze long time ago. And here are the several things that the Ice King has froze, which I'm going to be showing you right now. And the dragon eggs are one of those, which the Ice King also placed them in Polar Peak, alongside the prisoner, which was frozen. Sometime after the fact, what's going on with Reality Zero right now is that the cube, which landed because the visitor landed a rocket towards a rift, and the rift opened, the corruption cube got out, the cube went in, placed some runes, sunk in Loot Lake, rises up, collects the rooms, and it tries to spawn the last reality, but it fails and it explodes above the 0 point. And it's believed that force was so great that it rippled from reality 0 towards the ice moon, which has been orbiting around for some time. And it's believed that this giant piece of the ice moon just landed towards reality 0, and between those time scales after the cube exploded, this giant iceberg landed towards southwest of the island, very far away. And the Ice King doesn't know this because he was in hibernation mode, because he wants to make sure that the ice moon is extremely cold as much as it can, to the point where the Ice King has low activity, so he can literally rest without no distraction. But it wasn't until Fortnite Chapter 1 Season 7 where the chunk of the ice moon starts merging with the Athena Island, and it's believed that it was so hot that it starts melting all this ice. Well, not all of it, but some of it, much enough for the Ice King to wake up and realize that, hey, what's going on? Why is the ice melting? And then he realized that he was inside reality 0 after what happened with the cube and all. And he realized that the cube has something to do with this, so it's believed that he went to Loot Lake and discovered the shards of the what's left of the cube. He decided to take a sample of the shard and then went back to Polar Peak, and then he decided to spawn a massive orb surrounding himself, and has this piece of this cube shard right here, and he manipulates it in a way where he starts freezing the island, which I'm going to be playing this right now here. And as you can see, the Ice King decides to make a massive hologram of himself. He basically uses the power of the corruption cube to spawn a massive ice storm, which blanketed the entire island for days to weeks. And as a result, it froze the entire Athena Island, making sure that his entire kingdom doesn't melt. And not only that, the weapons and the dragon eggs and the prisoner, his former ally, does not escape. But it's already too late, because while it was melting at the exact same time, the prisoner has broken free. He also took the dragon eggs to go northeast towards Wailing Woods, and he starts spawning the volcano. At first, he started doing some major earthquakes across the island, and then across Dusty Divot, where lava starts spewing in, and then in Tilted Towers, the middle building was destroyed, and as a result, the volcano forms. Starting Chapter 1 Season 8, the Ice King realized what was going on, and he saw that his former knight, the prisoner, now known as the Fire King, spawns a massive volcano. So he declares war against the Ice Kingdom, and at the exact same time, the Scallywags from another reality also arrived there to also join with the war. This large-scale fighting resulted in the Fire King being frozen underwater into eternal ice, and the Ice King was able to take him back to the ice moon so that he can lay rest over there forever. But before that happened, it's believed that the Fire King, in case something happens to him, will order the hybrids to go and fight back the Ice Kingdom around southwest. He decides to trigger a volcanic eruption that would easily destroy the Ice Kingdom. But what he didn't realize is that he triggered something that would change the Fortnite storyline forever. While the volcano launches, it did hit the Ice Kingdom, but it managed to crack this part where it shows a massive eye, which in Chapter 1 Season 9 is believed to be the Devourer, the same monsters in which the Ice King was able to freeze years earlier to prevent any catastrophic destruction across all realities. That can trigger a point where the 0 point would be destroyed later on, and has to be sacrificed by the Paradigm with the robot that would be recently built to fight back against the monster, and that would bring havoc. And even though the Ice King was able to stop the Fire King from doing even more damage, except destroying Tilted Towers and a part of Retail Row, which would become Mega Mall, it was already too late. Because of this, the Ice King decided to flee back to the Ice Moon and decided to refreeze himself eternally, and he wasn't seen again. Meanwhile, havoc broke across the entire Polar Peak as the Devourer breaks out, and he goes around destroying things, including the cable around where Loot Lake, where the cable attaches to the 0 point, uses the power to power Neo Tilted, gets destroyed as well, and as a result, final showdown comes. In Pressure Plant, the former volcano, the Imagined Order, under the Singularity, decides to build a robot and has hired the Paradigm to operate the robot, the Mecha Team Leader, to defeat the monster. But then the Devourer tried to break into the vault, and he gets extremely damaged, as well as destroying the entire castle of Polar Peak, but it didn't matter anyway. Fight went on, it was very brutal. Meg lost an arm, breaks in the vault, breaks the 0 point, punches the monster, grabs the blade, pierces the eye, and then flees, before the monster decomposed itself. But then the 0 point was exposed, just like what we know what happened to the Chapter 1 island. The 0 point explodes, meteor, Dusty Depot comes back, scientists, beacons, rifts, many crazy stuff happening, and then the end, rockets, meteor, boom. Reality Zero is destroyed, but gets reorganized thanks to Geno. While at the exact same time, the Ice Moon was still untouched, but managed to survive the end, as it's like one of the only remaining things that survive, while Reality Zero and the other realities are just sucked into a black hole. But was reformed anyway to the second iteration, which includes the Chapter 2 and Chapter 3 island. But then I'm gonna have to fast forward more to Chapter 3, as there's a lot of crazy things going on. Starting with Chapter 3 Season 2, guys. While the Seven and the Imagined Order are at war, the Ice King is still dormant in ice, and while that was happening, as the Seven regains territory, Geno comes back to Reality Zero for the preparations of the Collider. The Collider gets built, and the Seven saw what is going on along with Jones, Spider-Man, and the others, and some decide to go to the Ice Moon to find the Paradigm and the mech to see if they survived or not, alongside the Foundation and the Imagined, and they found the actual castle where the Ice King resides in the Ice Moon, and also saw a part of Polar Peak missing because, you know, what happened earlier before Chapter 1 Season 7. They managed to explore the entire Ice King's ice castle, where they saw beings, weapons, and all that stuff. And if you read through the comics, guys, there's a lot I want to talk about on what has been happening with the Ice King over there. But at the exact same time, Dr. Doom and his team were also there, but them and Jones were also there as well. And it turns out the conditions of the Ice Moon at the time of Chapter 3 Season 2 was very catastrophic, because it turns out that when the Ice King returned to the Ice Moon after freezing the prisoner and placed him back here, he decided to make the conditions of the Ice Moon even more colder and even more worse, as it turns out that Thor and Storm, well, not that Storm, this Storm, were struggling to literally adapt through these conditions. And as the teams were able to reach the vibranium door, Dr. Doom decides to melt the entire door, because once again, he has the 0 point shard in his hands. But then that 0 point shard, which I'm showing you right now, would later on be used for the Mega Team Leader, now Mega Strike Commander. They were able to face the Ice King over there, who has been laying dormant for some time. But as Jones went through a trap, a hologram version of the Ice King decided to appear, congratulating them and greeting them for getting this far. And because of their presence, especially for Dr. Doom's presence in the moon, the Ice King saw that they are way too dangerous and they shouldn't be here. So as punishment, the Ice King decides to do this. He decides to make the Ice Moon conditions even more worser than ever, even more colder than probably almost to the point where oxygen turns to liquid oxygen and nitrogen turns to liquid nitrogen. Well, it's pretty unknown how it is, but hey, they were able to adapt through it because, mind you, remember the 0 point shard? But yeah, they are able to escape the trap, and as a result, the kingdom remains frozen for quite some time. And while the events progresses, we can see what happens over there. They were able to find a mech, they were able to find the Paradigm, who she has been frozen but still alive. They were able to rebuild the mech with the use of the 0 point shard as the Mega Strike Commander, and as a result, collision progresses. Once the Mega Strike Commander decides to launch, the 7 base over there is left abandoned. And ever since then, the Ice Moon has been fully abandoned, very frozen, in the worstest conditions. And as the events of Chapter 3 progress much further, up until Chapter 3 Season 4 at the very end, when Reality Zero was fully destroyed by the Herald with the use of the Chrome to get rid of the 7, taking them to the last reality, while some members like the Foundation and the Order managed to survive, they remain scattered. And after Reality Zero's destruction, the Ice Moon begins to drift away even more further. And as the Ice King has remained frozen, asleep, forever, well, not forever, up until Chapter 7, until he realizes, the Ice Moon begins to drift, and drift, and drift, and drift. Between the end of Chapter 3, Chapter 4, Chapter 5, and Chapter 6, or Chapter 7, the Ice Moon was in deep space, between different realities, just traveling, and at that time the Ice King was still asleep and he doesn't realize what was going on. So basically he's just been sleeping throughout all these chapters, and at the exact same time it turns out that the Foundation, who went missing much earlier, managed to survive, and he decided to go inside the 0 point to another reality, which is the reality where the Ice King originates from. And after all this time, the Foundation has survived from Chapter 4, Chapter 5, Chapter 6, up until Chapter 7, probably around pre-Chapter 7 when all of this happens, and I'm going to explain this right here. Between Chapter 6 and Chapter 7, Foundation was able to survive in the Ice King reality and its conditions since it's a very cold reality. And it turns out the Ice Moon begins to return, and once it reorbits Ice King's reality once again for the first time in years, the Ice King realizes and he wakes up. And because of this, he manages to get out of the Ice Moon and saw that the Foundation is there. And he's like, what are you doing there? You're not supposed to be here. And then the Foundation's like, dude, I'm trying to survive. You know what happened to Reality Zero? And then the Ice King's like, I don't care. You're gonna be frozen with the others. And it turns out that the Foundation and the Ice King had a major conflict for a while, and he tried to freeze the Foundation, but every time he tries, the Foundation would just break free. Because of this, the Foundation has crafted a new armor because of the resources across the Ice King reality. And it wasn't until around Chapter 7 where the Strike Sniggles were sent from the Order and the Foundation about what was going on in 0 Hour, the Dark Presence, the 0 Point Shard. And as it turns out, they realized that another 0 Point Shard starts landing in the Ice King reality at West, and as you take a look at Frigid Fortress, which is the Ice King reality right here, you can see the 0 Point Shard right over there. And then the Ice King uses this advantage to take the 0 Point Shard and use its power to ultimately freeze the Foundation with Eternal Ice, this time with 0 Point energy, and it finally worked. And as a result, the Ice King decided to go back to the Ice Moon to bring most of the other pillars where he froze the Prisoner and others, because during this fight, Aurelia, Captain America, and many others around here noticed about the Foundation's survival, and they tried to assist him, but they also got frozen as well before Chapter 7 Season 2, and they ended up alongside the Foundation in the pillars of Frigid Fortress, the fortress where the Ice Kingdom operates in. And as a result, they remained there. And it wasn't until Chapter 7 Season 1 where, because of the Dark Voyager's intensity of grabbing the core and place it between the 3 0 Point Shards, which the 2 that he collected, and the 1, the Reality 783 shard, which it was liberated thanks to the Dark Presence death, it begins to intensify to the point that it spawns 3 different pure portals, with one of them being at the very north at Golden Coast, the Ice King's reality, and the 0 Point Shard over there. And as you take a look at the teasers right here, you can see what was happening for Fortnite Chapter 7 Season 2 Showdown. And then Fortnite Chapter 7 Season 2 came, the Ice King's reality arrives above, and it starts to replace that location. And you can see what happened to Clawsy Launch. Clawsy Launch was replaced by Ice King reality, and it became Frigid Fortress. And because the temperature of the Golden Coast is extremely hot, it started melting most of the ice. And then it melted one of the ice pillars to the Foundation. And as a result, the Foundation is set free, which I'm going to be showing you right now in the teaser right here.
No more Mr. Ice Guy.
And once the Foundation was set free, he noticed that the Ice King was there and starts to fight back one of these guards, and then tried to fight back the Ice King. But before he did that, he decided to relocate himself far away to Classify Canyon and met up with the remaining 7 members, the Order and the Vizier. Well, not the same Vizier as the one we saw that got chromed. And then Hope and Jones were also there, and they decided to create a brand new sanctuary similar to the one we saw back in Chapter 3 Season 1 as their brand new base. And the exact same time while that was happening, the Dark Voyager decides to visit Frigid Fortress with the Ice King. They made a deal with a massive, bigger plan. Once he declares war against the 7, the Dark Voyager would have to sneak behind the 7 by using the Dark Harvester to get the remaining 0 Point Shards and place them with the other 3, and then it will go from there. And the Ice King makes the deal, and then they start going to war with the 7, marking the new beginning, where the Foundation tries to battle the Ice King, and while they are fighting as rivals, along with their allies, Dark Voyager is going to prepare to use his Dark Harvester to do his big plan. Before that happened, if you take a look at that loading screen, guys, you can see that Jules stealing the Dark Harvester. And it's really wild because Jules is a complete badass of doing that, because, mind you, she probably learned that from her father Midas, because Midas knows everything on what has been going on between the last reality and Midas. and probably what happened to him, especially for the Dark Series of Midas. And because of this, Jules and Midas indirectly decide to steal the Dark Harvester for a little bit before sooner or later the last reality would probably capture it, bring it back to reality 266 for the Dark Voyager to use, because right now Dark Voyager noticed on what's going on, and he decided to upgrade his base even more further to Dark Dominion. And Dark Dominion is an even worse version of Lethal Labs. Now it's Dark Voyager and the last reality doing all this propaganda. Ice the Ice King progresses this war much further, and the distraction goes on. In the future, the Dark Voyager is going to be preparing his biggest plan that would change the course of Fortnite forever. But the thing is, how is this going to progress the war much further, guys? Well, I'm going to be explaining right now how is this going to progress the war much further because of the Ice King and Dark Voyager and the last realities alliance between each other, and how they're gonna like destroy the Seven in a way where they're gonna prepare this event where the 0 point gets rebuilt and the last reality takes full control, or something even worse. However, guys, the alliance between the last reality and the Ice Kingdom is probably something that we are not expecting, because mind you, the Ice King is meant to protect the Omniverse by freezing a bunch of weapons and beings that are very dangerous to him, but at the same time, he is siding with very dangerous beings with very dangerous weapons like the Chrome, the Storm, the Cube's Cradle, and the Dark Harvester, and the Motherships, and the Saucers, and the Abductors, while trying to capture the Seven once again, and as a result, trying to corrupt the Seven, and even Dark Voyager has to make this distraction to grab the last 0 point shards to rebuild the 0 point. But this is a huger problem because the Ice King is meant to protect the Omniverse, but at the exact same time, he is citing villains that destroy the Omniverse. So why is he not doing all this? Why isn't the Ice King not aware of this? And why can he not, freeze the Dark Voyager and put him in his castle, or freeze the Dark Harvester the last second that Dark Voyager has to make a deal with the Ice King? Well, it turns out lying, because the Ice King loves to lie, and as a result, it's believed that the Ice King could have been a member of the last reality, because at the exact same time he loves lying to people about protecting the Omniverse, but at the exact same time is siding with the last reality to, destroy the Omniverse at the exact same time. But it's only allegedly, because once again, we don't know that much of the Ice King, as much as we don't know about Geno or Dark Voyager when we first saw him with his brand new form. As a result, we finally know about Dark Voyager being side of the last reality. But yeah, just like Dark Voyager, we don't know that much about the Ice King. Despite that, the only time we know about the Ice King is his castle, Polar Peak, his actual castle at Frigid Fortress, the other castle, the Ice Moon, knowing how to freeze stuff, using, the cube shards to, freeze the entire island, and most of all, using the Ice Moon as a type of vehicle or transportation to transport itself to different realities. But I don't think the Ice King is like the protector of the Omniverse. I think he is more like a manipulator of the Omniverse in a way. Because mind you, he knows how to do all this, and he knows that if we get to uncover the secrets about the Ice King, and if he was actually from the last reality, then this could actually doom the Ice King so much, meaning the Foundation will uncover on who the Ice King truly is, and why did he form the Ice Kingdom in a way to deceive people, just like how Dark Voyager has his redacted team to deceive people. Because in one side, Dark Voyager is building the 0 point in order to make us happy, but on the other side, he's actually building the 0 point to take full essential control. And because the last reality has given up on destroying the 0 point and the Omniverse to bring back to nothing, they had another plan of actually rebuilding the 0 point for all of us, since it was already destroyed since Chapter 4, and as a result, take full control. Same thing applies to the Ice King. He is actually freezing weapons and beings, but at the exact same time is freezing innocent people like the Foundation, who's basically the actual protector of the Omniverse, not the Ice King. And at the exact same time, he's not doing a very good job because he's siding with an empire that has weapons of mass destruction. Do you see the hypocrisy, guys? Because basically, the Ice King and the last reality are all the same. And there's evidence of that. Look at this. Look at this teaser right here. You can see the Dark Voyager is being welcomed by the Ice King. Instead of the Ice King freezing the Dark Voyager and placing with the Foundation and the others, they made an agreement. Can't you believe it? Like, I don't think the Ice King is the protector of the Omniverse. I think he is like the manipulator of Omniverse in a way, because that is the evidence as we saw. And I could assure you that he could be a member of the Last Reality, probably a higher ranking member, because he knows how to use the cube, like just a piece of the cube to freeze everything, and he is siding with a person who is corrupted by cubes in order to capture what? And in my opinion, in the future, I think the Ice King is going to lose. I think he is probably going to be beaten up by the Foundation in a way. Because I don't know about this, like, if you take a look at his armor, it looks gold. Like, is it golden cube? I don't think it's golden cube. I think it's, like, based on the Reality Wars, since, the Reality Wars are, like, a predecessor type of the 7, based on the Paradigm. Because the Paradigm is from Reality 6x9 in a way, and the buildings are inspired by those from Reality 6x9 if you compare the Sanctuary and Reality 6x9 buildings for the Reality Warriors. And we haven't known the Reality Warriors as much, but probably in this season we'll get to know and unlock the secrets about what the Reality Warriors actually is. And also, guys, one more thing. What is the Ice King actually freezing other than a dead Devourer? Like, this is not alive. Like, unlike the other alive Devourer from Polar Peak, there's a dead Devourer. It's just a skeleton. What is all this? This is not even weapons. Like, is this a grill? Like, is this a literal grill? No way he just froze a grill. A box? Like, what is in this box? And then you get this robot. And these are from Chapter 6, by the way, if you can tell. And then you get a gnome and a unicorn and then this thing. What is that? And then you get an axe. That's the only weapon he just froze. Like, that's it, an axe. And then you get ducks. Like, what is he gonna use those anyway? And then a pili. What? Guys, what is the Ice King even freezing anyway? Like, he's not even freezing weapons. He's just freezing just pointless stuff. Like, I expect weapons of mass destruction, not a grill and a banana and a... I'm confused. And you know what's the most confusing part about the Ice King? Like, he just adopted, like, this tiny little monster called the Ice Prince. Like, what reality is he from? Like, it looks like he's not supposed to be here. Like, he probably got adopted by the Ice King. It's like, hey, you're adopted, and then just became the prince. Like, is he gonna be the next Ice King in case the Ice King... What is this little thing gonna do? Like, what is gonna happen? And then there's this strange-looking map that shows what the Ice Kingdom's gonna look like in Frigid Fortress, where it's gonna extend through. I bet that's not gonna happen in Chapter 7 Season 2. Hopefully not. Despite that, Dark Voyager's gonna steal that 0-point shard anyway. And here's the most confusing part about this season, guys, because I hope I'm wrong, but is this like this season where there will be 2 Ice Kings and 2 prisoners? Because mind you, you get the Ice King and the prisoner in the unknown reality, and then you get the Ice King and the prisoner in Reality 266. Like, what is going on over there? Despite that, these 2 are almost looking the same, except this one has a completely different crown other than this one. And then the prisoner, there's like the exact same prisoner, but this one's from an alternate timeline, and this one is our original prisoner who is still frozen to this day. Ever since Chapter 1, Season 8, after the Ice King has fully defeated the prisoner, and then he is there. And then you get this prisoner roaming around still doing the quakes and releasing the volcano. Like, let me know in the comments, guys, because I really hope I'm wrong or I'm not on something. But yeah, here's my solution, guys, about all of this. I think the Ice King should at least be aware of what is actually going on, and he's being used by the Last Reality or at some sort, if we can literally truly unlock the secrets about the Ice King, because this is getting suspicious in this season. Like, why be the protector, but at the same time, you are joining with the freaking empire that's going to destroy? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Also, the Foundation has to encourage the Ice King, like, instead of fighting each other, why not just both of you team up to at least defeat the Dark Voyager, and then actually freeze the Dark Voyager as a last resort to make sure he doesn't do all this? And then together they can get the 0-point pieces and then rebuild the whole 0-point, then let Jules get back the Dark Harvester before anything happens and get the last 0-point shard from there, and boom, the 0-point is rebuilt. No, I don't think that's gonna happen, because right now that Ice King is literally being very, very suspicious and very, very deceiving to me, because at this point, I could expect that this propaganda might exist other than what Dark Voyager is doing right now. I expect Ice King to have these propagandas like these. Then the Foundation will just counterattack by using all this propaganda right here. Finally, those from either World War I or World War II. Despite all this, I hope that the Foundation wins, and I hope that the Ice King will deserve something that's gonna like by him back in there. And if I can hope that the Ice King could actually just deflect to the Foundation and actually join sides with him, that could be even more better, and they can actually just work together alongside with Geno, because I really hope, please Epic, please return Geno and actually get a Geno skin and release it, because I would be way more happy if a Geno skin, like an actual Geno skin, could be released and he would join with the Ice King and the Foundation to work together to defeat the last reality as a team. And like how the Imagined Order and the Seven used to fight back in Chapter 3, same thing's happening with the Ice Kingdom and the Seven just fighting. How about y'all just team up and just defeat the freaking Dark Voyager before you just do it? Sorry about this, guys, but this is how I can expect for both of them to do despite all this going on. But yeah, as this war progresses, let me know in the comments, how do you think this is gonna go on, and how would you expect this war to like have an outcome? Like, is the Foundation gonna win, or is the Ice King gonna win, or even worse, is the Dark Voyager going to win by just deceiving everybody and just get this victory by rebuilding the 0 point and have the last reality to take full control? Let me know. And as always, guys, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you all in the next video.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
And also, one more thing. Why is this like Chapter 2 Season 2 again, where this is like the Ghost and Shadow War and Midas is manipulating this all in order to like build a device? Like, did y'all not just see that?